Welcome to another episode of Dynamic Diecasters, where this week we're going to be working on our Star Trek The Next Generation Enterprise build, with this being issue number 9, stages 31 through 34. And when we come back, we'll go ahead and get started on issue 30 or stage 31. Welcome back. Like I said before the break, we're going to go ahead and work on stages 31 through 34 today, which the vast majority of it will be just putting more panels together, I think. But the beginning in stage 31, it looks like we're going to be adding a PCB board to the actual saucer also. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started with stage 31. I'll pull out all the parts and we'll go over them, and then we'll go ahead and get started. I will be time-lapsing all of these stages, because in every one of them I'll be putting panels together. So it's not, every time I do that it takes a bit of time, because there's multiple windows and multiple escape hatches and things of that nature involved in the build. So, which this one's interesting because I see this piece, but I don't see in the build piece. So and I don't see them called out. So this really is just part of the build. So anyways, so the first part is going to be this deck panel, which is U208, and it's nice and metal. And then we've got 2 escape pod covers. We've got the left neck front lights, and like I stated before, we've got one of the saucer PCB boards that we're going to start off with. So there's a multitude of panels on here. So if you guys have been watching the episodes, there's a ton of wiring in this build. So, and this is PCB board 1, and there's probably like 26 to 30 ports on this one. So a lot of wiring. And then saucer PCB cable is this piece. We've got 7 cable ties, and then we've got 4 FM screws. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started on the build. And when we come back, I'll show you what we did. See you in a few minutes. I'm not sure how long it'll take, because it seems like there's going to be a lot of bundling of wires and things like that. So and that was it for stage 31. That actually took a lot longer than I thought it was going to. But, so for the most part, all we did was we had to pull in the left neck from the previous episode and put the lights in it. So, and then put that to the side. Then there was also a note that to save this stuff for a later stage, and I figured that was the case because we didn't have the lights to put in it. We just had the escape pods. But the majority of it, which took a good chunk of the time, was install. So you can see here, we installed the PCB, but then we also had to plug all the plugs in, route them in a particular fashion, and then cable tie them to the skeletal structure in specific spots. And it said to add the end for the PCB board here. So, and then lastly, the way we can test it, and I'll show you guys, to ensure that we did everything right, once you plug the battery unit into the out port on the PCB board, all of the lights that we've fitted so far should light up. So you could see at this point, I did it all right because they're all lit up. Of course, we've got some LEDs that aren't in panels yet, which will be fitted at a later time, but everything else is working. So with that, I'll unplug this and then we'll move on to stage 32. I'll put this off to the side for now. I'll probably end up installing panels in future stages, but we'll move on to stage 32. All that's in this is a deck panel, but I'm not sure as far as the breadth of the stage itself. We may work with the battle section or the Cobra neck or whatever you want to call it. But we might just install deck panels, or we may do neither one. So I'll pull out all the parts, but based on the fact that there's clear and dark windows in this stage and screws, it would tell me that we're at least installing a panel. It might be the panel that we got in the last stage, but it could be additional stuff because there's 2 reflector panels as well. So anyway, so we'll go through the parts and then we'll start the build. So on stage 32, we've got first thing we've got is deck panel U107, which is another metal panel. Looks like it fits under the panels on the board already because there's little notches. We've got a reflector panel for that particular deck panel. We've got deck panel lights, which is this cable. Then we've got 2 escape pods covers. We've got 5 clear windows and 5 dark windows. Then, like I said before, in this one we've got the left neck front reflector. So we put the lights in before, and here's the reflector. And then we've got screws. We've got 3 DM screws and we've got 3 CP screws. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started on stage 32, and when we come back, I'll show you what we did. See you in a few minutes. And that was it for stage 32. We still didn't touch the deck panel from 31, so it's still sitting over here. So I'm not sure if we will actually do anything with it or not. So the one from 32, what we did was we put the windows and the escape pod covers in, and we attached the lights. So that's the first part we did. And then the other part we did was we took the left neck panel that we added the lights to, and we attached it to the wiring from the battle station and put the reflector on it. So, or this side of the reflector anyways. It looks like in stage 33 we get the other side lights, and it looks like we might install that in the next stage coming up. But that's what we did in stage 32. So we'll go ahead and move on to stage 33, and it's pretty much, it looks kind of almost the same as what we just did in stage 32, where we do something with a deck panel and add something to the battle station. But we'll see after we go through the parts and detail out, or I show you what we did. But anyway, so once I get all the parts out of here, we can go through them and then we'll get started on the stage. So the parts for 33, we've got deck panel U302. This one's actually plastic this time, and it's got a little bit of a lip, so it's it'll be interesting where it actually goes on the ship. But then we've got the reflector panel for it. We've got panel lights, is what they call it. So it's not called deck panel lights in this stage, which is interesting. But then we've got 6 escape pod covers. We've got 5 clear windows again and 5 dark windows. Then we've got the left neck rear lights. So the previous ones were the front ones, if you recall. These are the rear ones. And then we've got 3 BP screws. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started on stage 33. And when we come back, I'll show you what we did. See ya in about 30 seconds. And that was it for stage 33. Actually, besides the first stage, the rest of them have gone pretty quick considering. But so, like I said before, the left dorsal panel rear windows, they said keep them close. So I put them over there, but they'll be used in stage 34. But all we did in this one was we installed the 6 escape pods and then the lights on. And what I came to see is this is near the starboard impulse engine, so that's where this part is actually going to be located on the saucer. But I'll show you guys. I already tested it during the build, so I know, or during my install, so I know the lights work. But I'll show you guys anyways that they do indeed work still. So there you see, didn't have to install this one yet, but you see that this panel is lit up appropriately. So far I haven't had any issues with anything not working, which is good. And again, we're not installing this yet, so that's going to be 2 panels we've built today that don't go on the saucer yet. And I think I have in the other room, I've got a couple of other ones that I haven't installed yet. So anyhow, with that, we'll go ahead and move on to stage 34. It's going to be just like this other one. There's going to be, it looks like where this will probably mimic stage 32 more than the last stage did. As it looks like we install not only stuff on a deck panel, but we also install the other lights on the rear section, which means we might actually install that piece during stage 34. Let me get all these pieces out first, and then there's a lot of clear windows in this stage, so that's interesting. We must do 2 panels in this one, I'm thinking, because there's a lot of clear windows in here. So anyways, I'll go through the parts and then we'll go ahead and get started on the build. So the first thing we've got is deck panel U303. We've got a reflector panel for it. Then we've got 5 escape pod covers. Like I said, we've got 20 clear windows. Then we've got 10 dark windows. We've got the left neck rear reflector. Then we've got 3 panel lights. Then we've got 3 different types of screws. We've got 3 BM screws, we've got 2 BP screws, and then we've got 3 CP screws. And with that, we'll go ahead and get started on stage 34, and I'll show you what we did when we get back, and then we'll conclude the episode. See you in about 30 seconds. And that's it for stage 34. like I was saying, the majority of the work we did was on this one. I think, well, let's see, trying to remember. This one was from stage 31. We did nothing with it. It said save it for a later stage. And then the rest of it was the PCB board. Then 32 was, I believe it was this panel. Stage 33 was this panel, or it was vice versa, either one. We worked a panel and then we worked on one section of this. In this section, or in this stage, in stage 34, we worked on this particular deck panel. So what I'll do is I'll show you that the lights work on it. I tested all of this stuff, so I know it already works, but I'll show you guys. So there you see, there were a lot of windows on this one. As you can see, there's a bunch of clear windows, not as many dark ones. But obviously, but that leaves for this build today, we basically had 3 deck panels that we did not put on the saucer, and one we did not work at all. The majority of the work was the PCB board that I showed you earlier, and completing the left side of the what I've seen called the Cobra neck and battle section. So basically we in this stage we had to add these 2 cables to the right side of this, and we had to plug them in. And then we added the rear section of the lights and then actually installed this section. So what I'll show you now, this particular section actually has a switch for it, so all I have to do is hit it to show you that everything lights up. So that's what the current left side of the section looks like. You can see the red light. I don't know how well it picks up on the camera, but there's a red light blinking. You see it blinking over here, but the red light's not set up yet. That'll obviously be done later. Then you flip it over and you see all the lighting on the back end. I don't know if you pick up red better over here or not, but anyhow, everything so far is working, which is goodness. And the fact that I'm not that great at wiring and everything looks kind of neatly packaged right now is kind of goodness for me, because I'm always concerned with that piece of it. But anyways, that concludes this week's episode of the Star Trek The Next Generation Enterprise build for Dynamic Diecasters. The next episode will actually be a Ghostbusters Ecto 1 build, but it'll be the another modification episode. I know if you watched the last Ghostbusters Ecto 1 episode, I had cable ties that I didn't use. That's one of the modifications that we'll be doing on that, is I'll be installing those black cable ties that function a little better, I guess. Another piece is adding carpeting and metal trim and a grill, I believe, to the rear workstation area. There might be another one in there, but I honestly can't remember. But check out the next episode and you'll see what I actually do with that. And then following that, it'll be another Ecto 1 build, followed by the X-Wing, another episode for the X-Wing. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys haven't already, go ahead and, if you like this episode, like it, and then subscribe to our channel. We're going to be putting a ton of videos out. And then subscribe, like I said, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you get notified when these episodes come out. Right now they're coming out every Friday, so that should continue going forward. But for all of us at the Heart of Geek, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Dynamic Diecasters, and I'll see you in the next episode. Have a good night.